Hey, nice to meet you guys. I'm Sami from Bone Stage Publishing, and I'm proud to be talking today with two of our amazing developers slash developer associates. We have here Melina and Vangelis from Pocket slash Love Games, the team behind our new game Somber Echoes, which is presented here on next. So, hi Melina, how are you doing?
Hello. Hello, I'm fine. I'm really glad to be here.
So, how are you related to the game?
Actually, I'm the voice of the game. I must say, I'm the voice actress, the only voice that the game has, and you are going to realize as you play the game. So that's pretty much about it. And I'm related emotionally to the game after doing this.
Yeah, I've been playing like tens of hours and I'm emotionally related to your voice there. It's giving me goosebumps all
Oh,
the time.
okay. Oh, that's one of the greatest things someone ever told me.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
great compliment.
so nice to meet you. Then we have Vangelis here, who is the lead game designer.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Vangelis. I'm the lead game designer for Somber Echoes. And pretty much everything you see in the game, I've had some sort of contribution in the overall vision, and especially the narrative and the story and how everything unfolds, but also things like combat, level design, a lot of that. And a whole bunch of other smaller things that have to do with the game production, including like organizing the pipeline and milestones and all that. Um, I've been with the project since we started working on it, pretty much on day one, although the idea was a bit older than that. And yeah, it's been a long road, and we're very happy to have gotten to this point.
Yeah. How long have you been making Somber Echoes? Remind me.
It's been about 3 years, and I'm saying about because in the company we also bring in sort of client work every now and then. So part of the team may be working on something else, but I would say more or less we've been focused on it for about 3 years now.
Yeah, that's a long time, and now just a few more months.
Yes, it is. It is exciting and also kind of nerve wracking.
That's right. I can
So
assure
you are
you.
emotionally connected with the game as well,
Oh,
more than anyone.
probably yeah, the number one emotional connection right now in my life. I
Yes.
think.
Well, that's good to hear on publisher's side. Like, it's a
Yeah,
good thing that you're connected to your game.
there's
That's always
definitely all
positive.
the investment is there. Yes.
Yeah.
Also, there is my cat.
Oh yeah,
We can't avoid him.
the mascot
He's
right
just
there.
sleeping there. He's my inspiration.
Is there cats in the game?
Two
Or
cats.
should we see, leave this as like a cliffhanger or a teaser? Is there cats in the game?
Hmm.
I hope not, because I played this, and I can't imagine a cat being there. I would be so nervous.
No spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers.
I hope
Yes.
not.
Angelis, can you tell me more about what is Somber Echo?
Right. So Somber Echoes, I would say, is like our tribute to the Metroidvania genre. We really like that genre in the studio. We've played a lot of games like that. And we wanted to make sort of our version of it. And that's how Somber Echoes came about. That's how we started talking about it and trying to come up with sort of the basics for the game and the core idea and all that. And of course, it evolved. And in a genre like that, you do need to think about innovation and how you're going to stand out and how you can contribute to the genre. Hopefully, give something back, so to speak. So it's a combination of very classical Metroidvania tropes and um, game loops and all that. But we've also sprinkled in our own little touch, mainly in the narrative, uh, but also in the gameplay, combat, traversal, and all that.
Yeah, yeah, I felt the Metroidvania feel and all the like, exploration is really cool there, and I'm really enjoying the whole vibe there. So basically, when I first fell in love with the game were the lanterns. They are an amazing way to travel the maps and explore everything. So, what kind of other like secret tricks and innovations have you made in the game? What makes it different?
Right. So first of all, the whole idea and the inspiration for the game came about from mixing together two things that you don't very usually see mixed in games, which is like a sci-fi genre with sort of a classical ancient Greco-Roman civilization vibe. Um, and it was quite a challenge to bring those two things together, mainly because no one has done it to this sort of style or level before. So references and inspiration was not very easy to come by. So we had to sort of come up with things as we went along and see what works and what doesn't. So it was a lot of work being put into that, and a lot of discussions and problem solving and making something that looks visually appealing but also works in like sort of in the gameplay sense, and it's kind of unique and interesting, and all that, of course. So a lot of variables there to sort of balance out. um, what we are really happy with and proud of, among other things, is it is a Metroidvania where uh, you have to use like physical weapons like swords and spear and all that. So the feel of combat is quite, I would say, unique. There's a lot of physicality to it. There's a lot of, also it allows you to interact with the environment in certain ways. So you feel like you're a part of this world and you affect it with the tools that you have in your hands. So yeah, the lanterns as a traversal thing, um, it is a very it feels so nice to use. It feels very acrobatic. It feels very powerful, and but also when you ask about other tricks, like how the sword operates, and then later on in the game you get a spear, which we're very excited about because it's quite a unique sort of mechanic, and the way it's been implemented, it's very fun.
It is. It is.
Yeah, and and all of these things evolve. So the spear starts as one thing, and then becomes another thing, and then it becomes another thing, and so on. So there's little evolutions in all of these mechanics, and I'm not gonna spoil everything that happens, of course, but for us at least, and for people that we have had playtest the game, we can see that excitement of, oh, you can do this now, and this works like this, and this works like that. So yeah, we're very happy with all of that.
Yeah, we were presenting the game here in Gamescom this year, and it was like when the new players arrived to the gaming station and they started playing with the game, and it was about 10-15 seconds after they started playing, they started to realize the things that needed to be done and how the mechanics are introduced in the game. Like now you have to run away from the monster, and now you have parry, now you have a sword, and then it's like all those, like, they are not surprises, but they are like wow moments. What the players receive, like, oh, I can do this, and this is fun, this feels good. And coming from that to the story side, like, I'm receiving a lot of, like, when I first played and now when I'm still playing, I get some kind of like horror vibes of the game, like sci-fi horror, and also the deep story and the deep, like, the depth of the story is amazing. So tell me more about the story.
Right. So this was a really big focal point for us. Like we talked a lot about the narrative, and it was one of the ways we wanted to try at least and evolve the genre. Whether we succeed or not, the people that play the game will let us know, and we're really looking forward to that. But this was our intention, to have some sort of narrative in a game like this where it really pulls players in. They become invested. It is sort of our one of our major mystery vehicles, like or I should say, mystery is one of the main vehicles that we use to get the player sort of invested in the game, and it sort of evolved in such a amazing way for us, and especially for me, because I've written I've written all of the stuff you see there, but of course the ideas behind them are part of a team effort. But there's a lot of aha moments when I was writing this stuff, and of course it's all based on ancient Greek mythology. And one of the things that I really really like about this is that people that do get invested and do want to look into it more, just by doing a search for the names and the circumstances, they will find more things. They may even fill in some blanks or some sort of things that are not too explained in too much detail while playing the game. That's kind of by design, because we want to give enough story to the player, but we don't want to overwhelm them, overwhelm them as well. So yeah, for people that are gonna be invested, I think it's gonna be a pretty amazing journey. At least that's the intention. But yeah, it's an ancient Greek tragedy, basically in space. So we did try to innovate there for sure, and it has we were very specific about the feel that we wanted the story to convey, and it's all about this is a very somber, as the name suggests, situation. Things have gone horribly wrong, but there is a lot of emotional contrast as well. Like the whole story revolves around these two sisters. They used to be close, but now they appear to be on the opposite sides of what's happening on the ship, the Atromitos, that the whole game takes place in. And this is, in my opinion, this hits all the right sort of vibes with ancient Greek tragedies. Like you have people that used to be close, now they've been sort of pulled apart by what's happening. So you, as one of those characters, are trying to understand what exactly is happening. There's other characters that appear that might be very familiar, but the setting and their sort of how they present themselves to you is very unfamiliar. So you may see someone that's very famous from ancient Greek mythology, but they don't appear to be who they are in ancient Greek mythology. They appear to be just, some normal person living on the ship. And
He's laughing.
I am laughing because I've seen videos of people playing, and also playtesters, but also videos of people playing the game when we did the playtest earlier this year. And I think we hit it on the head, because everyone was like, why is this person talking as if they're just an average Joe when they're not? You know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's pretty much exactly what we wanted. So
Yeah. And the whole storytelling, I've been thinking about, are you a poet? Because all the dialogue, no spoilers, not too much spoilers anyways, but all the dialogue and pulsing with anticipation, the voices pressed her own word.
Groaning and sighing, awakened from his slumber deep, this place of oblivion and shadows reacted to her newfound awareness. Pulsing with anticipation, the voices pressed her onward. Salvation now was within reach. And like before, translucent and ethereal, her sister's form manifested, in a softer tone and kinder words. About happier times she reminisced, but also suggested caution.
They sound like a poem and a really good storytelling.
okay, that's a huge compliment.
It is. It
Because
is.
to be honest, I had to figure out the writing style for this game, because I haven't written stuff in this style before. So I had to do research on ancient Greek tragedies and poetry and counting syllables, just to give you an idea, and how flow of the flow of where you put the emphasis on words and how you put them together and stuff. I'm not gonna pretend like this took years of study and stuff like that. I had to be quite efficient about it. So it is still in a gaming sort of in a game environment. But I'm quite happy with how everything turned out. And yeah, I did go for that sort of tone of the narration has some musicality to it. You can almost feel a beat when you listen to it, at least in most parts. You can get the rhythm of it. Funny story: when we were recording at the studio, the sound engineer, when Melina was delivering the lines and we were recording, I saw him keeping time with his finger because he was like following the sort of the
Yeah.
natural beat of the narration. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, I think we've done the we've achieved the goal.
And I want to add, as a person that because I'm an actress, this is my main
Yeah, it's an important point. Melina is
occupation.
actually a trained actress.
I'm a
This is-
trained
yeah.
actress, and here in Greece we are very proud of the Greek ancient tragedies, and we studied them a lot. So when I got the first script from Vangelis, I was very excited with how he managed to transfer the music part of his writing on English, because I think it's really important to use the syllables and the sentences in a way that you keep this authentic style, the tragedy style. And I think he nailed it. And as we were doing rehearsals, because before we went to the studio, we rehearsed it a lot. We wanted to be 100% ready for the recordings, for it to be perfect as it can get, to get the story out and let the people that play the game get the feeling of this ancient tragedy. We were actually reviewing every single line all the time. We changed things that were settled, things that I recorded from my home, from this place actually, and I sent the recordings to Vangelis. And when he listened to the recordings, he was like, "No, I think we need to change that." So it was all in a single detail in the text, and it was really easy for me to adjust to it, even though it's not my native language. English is not my native language.
Yeah.
I find it really hard when I have to play a part in a different language, because it's hard to deliver the emotion. You have to think of the language, of the way that the pronunciation sounds to others. And the way Vangelis wrote the whole script, it was really nice for me, because it was something so familiar, actually. I have studied this million times as an actress. I'm trained to do this. So it was a great surprise to see a person committing so much to something so important if you want to put something like this in the game, because it's a huge project for me to touch something like the Greek mythology in the way the ancient writers did it.
Did it, yeah.
Yeah, I've been telling like to my friends many years, games are the most powerful storytelling platform nowadays, and you can dive inside the story and build the story as you go. So that feels important. And what I usually like studied about storytelling and writing Greek style texts, it's like you have to have that like act 1, 2, 3, the hero's journey and stuff like that. But it's much deeper. It's syllables.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like from the first sort of narration moment that you hear, and I'm actually referring to the previous demo now, where it started in the underworld. So you didn't get the introduction of the game. So the first thing that you heard from Melina in that, it set the tone so quickly for me, even for me, who I wrote the thing. I have sort of a specific, when I'm writing the things, I hear them in my head. So I write something and I'm like, okay, this is gonna sound like this, and I have a sort of an idea about how it will come about. But even I was very pleasantly surprised when I actually heard the first line in that underworld section in the game that players will experience very early in the game. And with the music and with the visuals and everything else, it immediately gets you into, at least for me, as far as I'm concerned, it gets you into the mood that we're trying to put the player in. very very fast, and I think that's a very good thing.
Let's hope the players love it as much as we do. I have no doubt. But now that we're talking about the story and the syllables, Melina, can you tell me more about your work with the project? How did you find and start working with the game?
Um, at first, I was really surprised with all the concept. It's the first gaming job that I do, and I'm a fanatic gamer, I must say. It's my main hobby, and I love it. So I was really excited, and um, I was really excited that Vangelis is Greek because we could communicate in a way that we could be really precise about the things that he needed and the things that I had questions about. When I read the first, maybe, πώς λέμε περίληψη?
The
Summary.
outline, the summary.
The summary, when he sent me the summary, and we went on a Discord call, and he explained the story to me with all the spoilers that I can include.
Unfortunately,
It's fine because I need to know.
Yeah, of
I
course.
mean, I was so super excited because I think that it's the first time I am listening to a story for a game after many years that the game designer thinks outside of the box. I didn't expect the story to be in this way. I didn't expect the plot twist because it's full of them. The game, it's just full of them to be that way. I was super excited for his writing style. I told him from the very beginning. And my first reaction is I can't wait to go to the studio to record because we communicated, 6 months ago almost. It's been 6 months. I was like, as you write the final scripts, if you need anything from me, like if you have a doubt about something and you want me to read it to you so that you can listen to it and maybe give you inspiration about something else, you can just ask me anything. I'm so on board with all this. I was so excited. And when I played the playtest, which was weird for me to listen to my voice as I play, I then streamed it, and the people who watched they laughed with my expressions,
Yeah.
with my facial expressions. I was like, oh my god, what am I hearing?
Yeah.
The quality of the sound, because I did it from my home.
Yeah, it was the demo, sort of the placeholder sounds at that stage, but
Yes.
still it was good enough.
It
to,
was decent, I guess.
to
But
get into the demo.
even when I played the game and I saw the graphic style, and I'm not a Metroidvania, I must admit, enthusiast, because I get frustrated very easily.
Same here.
So I have to admit that I'm not the chillest gamer with these kind of games. I thought that it was a game for all playstyles, for all people who are frustrated with the games that they can't beat with the first try, like me. I didn't expect the game to be like this, and neither did the people that I talked about the game and I talked about this experience, and they were very happily surprised because it's one thing to imagine it and one other thing to just looking at the
Experience.
whole picture. I thought that it was something very, very, I don't know, perfect. I mean, I haven't played a game like this in a very long time that gives me retro vibes, that gives me future vibes, that has a story so deep. And I saw the whole situation from inside. I saw how committed Vangelis was. And I got to a point that I was really emotional about the game. I am still emotional about the game, and I think it's going to go perfect. And from the people that already saw the game, they can't wait for the game to launch. They ask me like every single day, when is the game launching? We can't wait for us to spend many, many hours on the game.
Do you want to say the story about how you sort of were brought into the project in the first place?
Yes, that's very funny because Vangelis, I'm streaming on Twitch on my free time. I do it as a hobby because I love gaming. So Vangelis had followed my channel for quite a while, I think, because I had his nickname um, a very long time on my chat. And one day I just opened a stream casually, and as every stream we were talking about 10 or 15 minutes in the beginning with the chat, and he launched the chat and he was like, have you ever thought of voice acting on a game? And I was like, I would really much like it. Do you have anything to suggest? I was just kidding. I didn't know Vangelis. I didn't know what he did for a living. I didn't know about the game. I had absolutely no idea about it. And he was like, yes, as a matter of fact, that's why I asked. If you're interested, we can talk. And I was like, I was kidding. I didn't realize that you were working in the gaming industry. I was very surprised when he even sent me at the very first beginning. I thought it was a scam, actually. I thought it was a person like making fun of my profession, which
Yeah, I
it could
mean,
happen. It could happen.
I was pretty certain that she's gonna think, okay, this guy is like either joking or trolling, or maybe he's exaggerating what he's actually talking about.
I was
But I was
very.
like, it's fine. We're gonna have a chat and see where it goes.
Yeah, and when he sent me the email, the professional email from the company, and he sent me the game on the Steam that
Yeah, the
was
company name.
registered. Yes, I was like, is this really happening now? What is happening? Is
Oh
this
shit!
for
Do I
real?
need to start training?
I was really surprised, and I didn't expect it to happen from my stream because it's something I do very casual. I don't stress about the people that comes on the stream. I just play, I just chat. It's a very casual, safe space for me to just chill in game and communicate with other people online, worldwide, as it seems. It was a very unique situation of a Greek person working in Norway on the gaming industry, just casually chilling on my stream, telling me if I want to voice act, which was one of my greatest dream to voice act on a game.
Yeah, I think
And
she
now,
actually
and now
mentioned
your
that.
guys are talking with the publisher who is located near the Santa Claus, I mean Arctic
Right.
Circle. So this is getting more and
And
more weird by the
I
day.
travel between Greece and Norway. Like this is
The creature was
Rock
on
Pocket is a
relentless
Norwegian
pursuit.
company. We must say
There were
it's
few
just that
places he could hide.
one
He had
Greek game
this
designer, one
creature
Greek
in
actress
mind.
sort of tangled into all of it.
That was the craziest thing. That was the craziest
Yeah.
thing. I think that the timing was perfect, actually. I think that the timing was perfect, and I'm really happy that happened.
Now, as we're talking about this, I'm seeing the gameplay going on. As I was saying before about the story, now he just interacted with a character that is very familiar from Greek mythos, but he seems to be, as a personality, he seems to be like someone completely different in this instance. So this is one of the things that I'm excited about to see how people will perceive this. Initial sort of reactions have been exactly what I was hoping for. So I'm hoping on a big scale this is also going to be the thing. But to give you some insight about the story that Melina was talking about from the other side, what happened was that when we were talking about, okay, we have all this narrative in the game, all this really interesting, we feel very interesting story and a kind of a twist on the Greek mythology, very, very well known Greek mythology, sort of established characters and stories and stuff like that. So how are we going to deliver it? And I'm going to be perfectly honest, like having a whole bunch of voice actors, each playing a different character and all that, was not really an option for our studio because of many, many reasons. So we had to be a bit more inventive about it. And because we were talking about ancient Greek tragedy, at some point, the idea came about of, how ancient Greek tragedies have the chorus, which is like this group of people that sort of explain to the audience some of the plot, and they also serve as what we would call in games as loading screens, like when the actors are going away or when the set behind them is changing in the actual plays, The chorus will keep the audience sort of in the loop of what is happening and where we're being transported, whether it is through time or space.
It's a
And
sort of, sorry, I want to
Yeah,
add,
sure.
it's a sort of like a very involved narrator,
Right.
actually.
Yeah.
If you want to get the picture exact.
But that's a lot of people. It's like, it can be one person coming in front and saying some things, but it can be also all of them in chorus, and that's why it's called the chorus as well, sort of reciting the narration and all that. So we were talking about that, and then we had sort of one of those very cool light bulb moments of what if it's not, each character is talking directly, but what if it's a narrator conveying what is being said? And that was an additional, I have to admit, challenge, because then the text had to be written in a way that makes sense.
Yes.
So it's a completely different thing to write what I'm saying now as if I'm saying it. And if you take exactly what I'm saying now and try to convey it through a narrator, and you don't want to use quotes, because the kind of the easy way out is like, and he said blah blah blah, but we didn't want to do that because that feels very sort of artificial and very out of the ancient Greek tragedy style. But we want to say, and he conveyed this feeling or that notion or this and that, and syllables and all that. So yeah.
Syllables.
So we're like, okay, we need a narrator, and because of we sort of ended up in the idea of we're gonna have a single voice actress. We need her to be a woman because it's important to the plot. Like, the person that is narrating the game is not just an anonymous narrator. It is someone that has some investment in the actual plot. You find that out at the very, very end, so I'm not going to say that because it's not. Yeah, it's quite
That was a Greek.
important. Yeah. So we were like, okay, we need a female narrator. And then we started talking to some women that do this for a living, and we spoke to some women from the US and some people from the UK. And we got some samples, but having a perfect American or British accent didn't really work, because the style of the writing and the theme is sort of ancient Greek, and we're like, there is something doesn't add up here. It's a bit weird. And then I was like, what if we find someone like a Greek actress, and she will have that little accent that makes it clear that she's neither American or British, and it will probably sort of bring things together. So I was thinking, like, where do I find like Greek actors that's gonna do that? Like, thankfully from some other acquaintances and stuff, I do have contacts with actors, or I could get in contact with actors, but I was like, how it has to be someone that's going to be interested in doing this. They have to know something about games, and most of the actors I know are very classical, so they play in theater and stuff like that. So I'm like, that's going to be a hard sell. And then I go on Twitch at some point, and I just join one of the streams that I watch every now and then, or have them playing in the background as I'm working. And I prefer Greek streams because it's easier to follow just listening as I'm working. And it was Melina's stream. I just clicked to say hi, as I've been doing like 2 years ago when I joined the stream the first time, when I found her stream, and I sort of became a follower and stuff. And then I was like, wait, she's an actress.
And she's a gamer as well.
She's a gamer, and she's a streamer.
And she can speak English.
And
so.
her voice quality is very, very good. And I was like, wait. And like, it was a spur of the moment thing. And I sent that message like, have you ever thought about, doing narration in video games? And she was like, yes. Are you offering me a job?
I was just kidding at that moment. Yeah. I didn't realize he was actually suggesting anything. Yeah. I was thinking that he's, I'm not going to say his nickname, but I thought, that person that I have communicated for 2 years asked me about my job, if I have ever done this, maybe. And I was just joking at the moment. It was really unique.
And the rest, as they say, is history. And now we went to the studio, we recorded everything. I've done all the work of putting it in the game. Although the cutscenes and stuff, there's some things to iron out, but it's all there, and it's really, really good. So yeah, we're very excited about it.
Yeah, it is. How deeply involved you get with the characters, Melina? Like, do you imagine are you basically you, the character in the game, or are you Aristia, or do you feel like how deeply involved you are in the characters in the game?
Okay, I have to carefully use my words because I don't want to spoil anything. Um, I'm gonna say, as Melina, and the part I play at this game, um, it's a huge plot twist for me. And when we were recording the final part of the game, which I got pretty much the last minute because changes needed to be made to fit some technical issues with the designing of the game. And I saved it for last sorry, my English not are failing me now. Specifically because I wanted to have that pure emotion on the studio because it was the final part of the game, the finale of the game. And when I read the text, the script Vangelis sent me, I had like this feeling, the heavy feeling of my soul. I got it got really immersive for me in the studio as well. Um, I think it was my favorite part because in the finale of the game you realize who the person that has been speaking to you from the very beginning is. And it was a really emotional thing for me. I think Vangelis nailed it because it's really hard to transfer emotion through text and through a narrative text, I must say.
Hmm.
Um,
I guess.
I'm pretty much very emotional about it, and the character is someone really, really important to the whole plot. It just puts everything together at the very last moment, at the very last sentences. Everything is like, what?
Yeah, all the
What
pieces
is
finally fit
yeah,
together.
I can imagine the reaction of the people that are going to listen the last part of the game will be like,
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully, we hope this is what will happen.
I hope that answers your question because I really can't say anything else. I'm attached with a legal contract.
I just want to keep the surprises.
Yeah, just like Vangelis said, it's like it's not a narrator. It's basically even if you're narrating stuff most of the game, you are basically the main character or one of the main characters.
Uh, I wouldn't present it like that. That's a bit misleading because
Yeah.
it's not one of the main characters, but it's a character that it's a character that emotionally uh, carries kind of like a heavy load into the character. I'm just gonna try to avoid like too much information. I'm gonna say it's someone that you don't get that doesn't get all that much screen time or interaction with, but
He's affected in a he's affected in a
yeah,
passive way,
the
I must
consequence
say.
of who that character is, and also sort of the sort of we want to create we want this to be a game where you finish it and then your mind fills in all of the possibilities that can come after the game.
Like an amazing movie or a
So
book.
like a book, like
Yes,
it
exactly.
ends. It gives you a definite ending because I'm not one of those people that like to give people
A
that this is how the
handoff.
story ends. But how many sort of millions of possibilities are there for this story to continue, or what could happen after? And players can sort of
This is
make
how the
up their
story
own sort of
continues.
yeah.
Maybe.
What makes a Greek tragedy? What are the building blocks of a Greek tragedy?
Right. So I had to look into that quite a bit, and it is sort of very fortunate that I have even
8 hour
before.
lecture.
Yes, 2 hours later, you can put in like you can put in like one of those full screen text things. But no, I'm gonna keep it very simple. I mean, when you talk tragedies, I mean the word itself sort of gives half of it away. Like there has to be an element of tragedy in the story. Like there is some heavy emotional load that these characters are carrying with them, and that is sort of it needs to be resolved before they can be at peace, or it can also be resolved in a very very bad way in tragedies. Like tragedies are not very famous for having happy endings, and I was quite. We had this discussion at the office about maybe we can lighten the mood here and there. I was very specific about that we shouldn't do that because this kind of narration relies on using that sort of emotional load and transferring it onto the players to an extent to keep them invested in the story and feeling like they're a part of this in some way, and what they're doing sort of affects what happens and whatnot. There are, of course, little hero moments, and especially at the end, definitely. But overall, the building blocks of a tragedy is an emotional load that puts the viewer or the player in this case in a state where they're like, I need to resolve this somehow. This is a really bad situation. It's weighing on me in a way that makes the whole thing sort of interesting and engaging. So that's one thing, and that's the biggest thing I would say. Like that. That's sort of, if you can get that rolling, I would say that's quite an important part. But then you have other things as well. For example, there is this term in ancient Greek tragedies which is called tragic irony.
Irony.
Tragic irony, for I'm pretty sure a lot of people will know, but for those who may not, is when when they were watching the plays in ancient Greece and now, the audience would have some information that the protagonists of the story don't. Like someone that they're looking for has passed away. I'm just gonna provide it as an example. It's not happening in the game, but yeah, they're looking for someone very desperately, but they've passed away. The audience knows that beforehand, but the character doesn't. That creates some sort of emotional attachment, I found, where it's like watching, a train wreck sort of happening in real time, and you're eagerly waiting to see, you have that emotional load, you're eagerly waiting to see when they're going to find out and how is that going to affect the character. And that sort of creates this, okay, I want to see how this ends feeling, which is very important in finishing a movie or finishing a game. And I was like, how do we do that in a video game? Bring that very important, cool thing from a play or a completely different medium into video games. And it wasn't any. It's probably been done in some way in other games as well. But basically, it comes back to what I was telling you about before, which is like I know who this character is that I'm talking to right now. They're very famous in ancient Greek mythology, but both him and the character that I'm playing don't seem to realize who that person is. And why is that? Like, when does she find out and how? Or does she ever find out? And, what's happening there, basically.
It comes down to something very familiar to the people that play the game, I think. And the thing about the ancient tragedies, yes, I can't say that word in English, sorry. Tragedies, I have to slow speak.
I think you're muted, by the way.
Oh, yes, I am. Yes, me neither. I can say tragedy. Strategy tragedy.
The thing about this specific type, back in ancient Greek, the reason that the writers used this way to present something to the audience is because they wanted the audience to to learn something. It's not about a happy ending or a bad ending. It doesn't have that concept at all. It's like a situation that happened, and we have to be realistic about it and follow the laws. The laws that the people at that specific time, at that specific place have. It's about justice, which is really important. Justice doesn't have a happy ending or a bad ending. Justice is just justice.
Yeah.
It's something that the people that came together as a community decided that they have specific rules, and these rules needed to be followed. And this is why the ancient tragedies focus so much on not having a good or a bad ending, on having things resolved, because this is the way that the community and the civilization must operate. It's about teaching the people that you need to follow the rules. If you don't, there will be consequences. Either you are committed or emotionally attached to a person, to a character, or not. That character needs to pay the ultimate price if he commits blasphemy, which was really important in the ancient times. Hubris,
Very,
yes.
very relevant to the game as well.
So it's the game has that concept. I think it's not about a good or a bad ending. It's not about a good or a bad guy. We see many Greek mythology names, and we know from the Greek mythology that these people didn't appear as good or bad. They were just entities that had specific aspects, and you needed to learn something from this. You needed to realize that you have to obey the certain rules, and that's the feeling that this game gives when you see how it escalates, how the story escalates later on.
Yeah, this reminds me of my one of my favorite sayings about storytelling and writing books and writing movies. Like, you can never write a story as crazy or great or as the real life. Like, the real life is the craziest story of them all, and it sounds like the ancient Greek people really nailed it, because like tragedy sounds like a description of how to write a story like real life. Like, there are no endings in life, basically. You don't have an ending to your story. Like, for example, if you are an entrepreneur and your company goes bankrupt, it's not an ending. It's a
Yeah.
beginning of something new. It's just something that happens.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
It's
that's really, really exciting.
It's also because the stories usually that they wrote about, they fit into the massive Greek mythos. So those stories, the beginning of the play you were watching and the end of the play was like a tiny bit of a larger myth or story. So you knew what came before because you presumably had read about it, in other stories. So you knew the story before and you know the story after. And I also have to clarify here that we think about, including myself, but people also that maybe are not Greek, but also Greeks that haven't studied maybe mythology that much. Ancient Greek mythology may give the impression of it being one very consistent and continuous thing, but it's not, because it evolved over centuries. And you get some story, like even who are the children of Zeus and Hera? I like to give a very famous couple, right? Between stories and between myths and between plays, that changes, because in the early myths, these were their children. And then you get a new character popping up in later years, like 100 years later. And they're like, okay, who were their parents? And in some stories, it's those two. In other stories, it's other gods, or maybe not even gods. And like 2 or 3 different variations of things. So anyway, we picked one, and we also added a whole bunch of our own stuff that don't actually exist in mythology, and like evolved it, but in a way that we feel fits the sort of tragedy and mythology sort of themes and way things were sort of done back then, I guess.
Yes, but you did exactly that thing that they used to do. It doesn't matter the origin of the story. It doesn't matter the origin of the characters. What it matters in the specific play that you see, it's the example that you have to take. So if you have to adjust something to fit the specific example that you want to give to the people seeing whatever it is you're showing them, it is okay, because you have to use it in a clever way so that you can establish a general information, a general feeling.
Yeah.
It's the only way that you can pass the information,
Yeah.
by adjusting it. And this is how they did it back then. And this is how Vangelis done it in a very nice way and in a very respectful way, I must say, because here we Greeks have, we are really emotional about
The heritage in
our
general.
heritage, our history, and it's really important to touch some things in a very respectful way and treat them like something really important. And I think that Vangelis did an amazing job at exactly this. It's really important to respect the history, to respect some things that happened million years ago. Or million,
No.
that's
Some thousand years ago.
That's a figure of speech, I mean. So that you can pass the feeling to the players that this is a respectful thing that represents you. This is a thing that I've put a lot of thought in it. I didn't just write something and gave it to you. I really, really focused on you to be okay with what you see.
Yeah. So as you said, this can be like
He's emotional now.
I don't know how to react to all the praise, and I have to be honest. Like I don't know how I can say it so it doesn't sound, but so it doesn't sound weird. But it was not all of it was conscious in a way. Like I just sort of I read something, I watched a bunch of tragedies and stuff, and then I guess I managed to transfer that in a good way. But of course, we want to see what the players feel because we're invested in this. We have a certain way of looking at it, but the initial, as I said, playtesters and stuff. I think we've managed to do it, but we'll see. We're really hoping that it gets through. It would be amazing, but of course, the players will judge that.
I might be sidestepping a little bit, but bear with me. So, like I told you earlier, but I tell here also that I'm an art history nerd. I love everything about all the mythologies of the world. We have quite deep stories here in Finland as well. From Norwegian people, like the Sami heritage. It's a strong thing for us all here, and how our cultures are developed. Like we believe in nature, we have believed in nature like centuries and thousands of years ago. But like myself, I'm interested on all the cultures and mythologies and everything around the world. And one of the main stories that has struck me in my life, I'm not just quite certain if this is from the Greek stories or mythologies, but it's the story of true love and how a human was was it androgynous or something like that, and the male and female were connected, and when they were connected they were strong enough to threat the gods. They were almost as strong as the gods, so the gods must struck them in pieces, so they end up all over the world. And if they find each other, the true love they create together will might the gods.
This is from Platonas, actually. The story that you just explained, this is from Symposio from Plato. Platonas, we call him here in Greek. It's nice to use the Greek words sometimes. Yes, but this is from Plato, actually. I don't know how symposium is called in English.
Symposium.
Symposium, yes. This is from there where Plato just explains a circle of very intellectual people talking about what love is, and each one of them presents his own version. And this is one of the versions that Plato wrote that was heard that day when they had that symposium.
Yeah. So one day when somebody asks what is sci-fi or space. Then we have Vangelis symposium there, telling the story about Somber Echoes.
It goes really far.
That would be amazing, actually, because I mean, in 1,000 years from now, if we have to think about it, maybe what we present today, not that specific work especially, but the gaming community and the things we provide in this specific way will be their legacy from the future for the future generations. So it's not a far-fetched thing to think about, I think.
Yeah.
It's I think we have to involve the history, the things we learn from the past in the future, so that the people that come after us can have this experience that we are having now.
Yeah, it's an outlook of how did they see things back then and all that. But yeah, this I have no idea how that's gonna play out.
We can imagine, but I mean, I'm already 30 years old, and I remember playing games like Final Fantasy like it was yesterday. And when I close my eyes and think about that it was the 1997, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my god, how many years have passed from there?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, one day I was talking with a game developer who has made one game that I was playing 2005, and I just realized like that's 20 years ago, and I'm 36 now, so I was quite young back then, and now the developer who made that game is right here talking
Yeah.
with me.
That hits hard.
Yeah.
The time passing so fast, I think hits hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
But
Hey, coming back from all the stories and about the building blocks of the game, the emotional side. Coming back to the actual game and the gameplay, what can we expect to see in the game? What kind of evil monsters and enemies, and what's there to expect and to see in the game?
right. So to keep it kind of spoiler free and maintain that element of surprise and excitement when players discover new things and stuff, I'm gonna say that, and it is nicely connected to what we were talking about before, which was very philosophical. A major concept in ancient Greek sort of mythos and religion and stuff, as Melina also said, is that there's no that inherent sort of concept of evil versus good is not really there. Like all the entities have their own agendas, personalities, and weaknesses and strengths and all that. So what I like about ancient Greek mythology is how they focus more on a concept of balance as opposed to good triumphs against evil. So everything needs to be balanced. Everything has a place in the universe, so it needs to exist for things to be operating optimally, let's say. And funnily enough, or not by accident at all, this is exactly what's happened on this ship that you're playing on. The balance of the two elements that make up the universe, which we call radiance and nocturne, and they represent two physical aspects of the two major gods, of the two only gods that you meet in this world, which are Ether and Nyx. And you're going to hear them mentioned by their Greek names, and all the names are pronounced in the Greek way because that makes for a much nicer sort of. It draws you in more. Let's just say that
It's very
like
authentic,
an
actually.
authentic and artistic sort of interpretation. But sidetracking a little bit, but basically the balance has been disturbed. Someone did something that has upset the natural order of things, and the result of that is that this ship has been stricken by this unspeakable catastrophe, and everyone on board has suffered a lot because of it. And you are actually brought back to life because that catastrophe also took the protagonist's life. And I'm mentioning that as a not a spoiler because you see that in the first 2 minutes of the game. So I'm comfortable enough discussing this. And you're brought back by these gods to fix the balance, basically, to restore that balance. And that balance has caused some very horrific things to happen on the ship. First of all, monsters seem to have come out of everywhere. And you will find out what has actually happened because they didn't, like, it's not so simple. Let's just
They
say.
didn't spawn just from.
They didn't just
thin
spawn
air.
from anywhere. It's a bit more philosophical. but they are everywhere, and most people have perished already, unfortunately, when Adrestia is brought back to life, trying to fix things. But there are some that are still hanging on and are trying to survive. And your goal is to encounter all these monsters and situations and try to resolve them in some way. Um, I'm not gonna make it sound like there's multiple ways to deal with situations. You have a very specific goal, so you go through the game piece by piece, achieving that goal. There are options. There are choices to be made at the end, which will have a massive impact on which ending of the game you get.
Oh
There
my
are
god, the
multiple.
ending comes back to me. Oh,
Yeah, Melina is was very excited when she read the text about how one of the ways that the game can end and all of them together and all that, and yeah,
I
players can
mean,
experience that.
who doesn't love a game that has multiple endings and
Yeah,
that
sure.
you have to play in a specific playstyle to just unlock all of them, to have the choices?
You can. It's more of to be more precise about this. It's more about being thorough. Like if you want to explore everything and interact with everything that there is to interact, explore every nook and cranny.
There's a reward.
Your reward is you can choose how this thing ends, basically. But
That's amazing.
on the opposite side, just to cover that as well, if you are an action type player, you can just
Dive in,
kill all those monsters that seem to have come out of nowhere, but they haven't.
slay the beast.
And enjoy the combat and the traversal and the lanterns we were talking about before and all the other mechanics, which we've gotten some impressions that they feel how we want them to feel, basically, in the game. And just make it to the end. You will get an ending, but you will probably miss out on
The
full
content.
story and what exactly has happened and stuff. And you will be left with some questions. But the good thing is you can just load your last save and just keep on exploring if you want. But yeah, all the creatures are very. And you mentioned horror before, and I want to touch upon that. We're not really going for horror. We're going more for disturbing. So something that feels otherworldly, and it has those notes of emotionally heavy, but also
Bizarre
and unfamiliar and kind of scary, but not in the traditional horror way. More in the what is this creature and why is it so?
Why is it following
why
me?
is it following me? Why does it look like that? So yeah, there's all sorts of creatures, and they've all come about from that event that sort of altered the reality of the ship.
Yes, but it actually has a horror stat. I mean, I don't play horror games because I can't stand them. I'm a scaredy cat, I must admit. But I like the fact that it has a spooky feeling with the music. It's so ambient. It's very dystopian style. I get the comment about it being a bit horrific in some aspects, and I mean, in the playtest, it had that thing with hands. It was the first boss, I must say.
Right.
Yes, I didn't want these hands anywhere near me, touching me. It was a bit scary. I mean, with the hands trying to touch you, many hands. And I was like, no, this is like a monster from my nightmares. Get it out.
Yeah, I mean, there is things that look horrific, but we don't really rely on that.
Yeah,
we rely
it's not
more
a horror
on the.
game. It's not.
Okay, this looks like something that shouldn't exist.
Yes, so let's put it down.
So let's get rid of it as soon as possible, kind of way. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds really great. I think our time here is quite up. We have been spending a good time here talking about the game and the story and everything behind the things. But is there something you both would like to mention to all the viewers and the upcoming players more?
I would like to briefly talk about the challenge of making a game like this, very briefly. Because as I said in the beginning, making a game of a genre that is so established, and it has people, when they hear the word Metroidvania, immediately they have some expectations. And meeting those expectations, but also adding to the genre, was a very big challenge for us. So we really strived to stand out and make something people will enjoy, but also feels familiar in a way. Uh, and in terms of other games that we've played while making this, or even before, there's a whole bunch of Metroidvanias, but things like Hollow Knight have been an inspiration for us for many reasons. Metroid Dread, the most recent one that came out, um, Blasphemous and Grime, we've drawn some inspiration. But of course, all of these great games, we try to do some things a bit different than them, of course. But yeah, we do want the game to feel familiar but also fresh. So that was I think the greatest challenge for us while making this. So we hope people enjoy it, and we're really looking forward to reading all the comments and how people perceive the story and the gameplay and all that.
Yeah, and no spoilers. We don't have the release date yet announced, but
Yes.
we know it. But people should stay tuned.
Yes, they should.
Yes.
Melina, do you have any tip on if somebody wants to hear Greek and look at games to be played, who should we follow on Twitch?
I mean, me.
Yes.
I think that's your hint.
I come by the name Meownith on twitch.tv. I mean, it's meow like a cat because I'm a cat person, as you've already
We've already established
that. And the last part of the nickname, which I came by myself, it's from Irith from Final Fantasy 7. That's why I used the last part, because she was my favorite character from that game, which I love. That's why it's Meownith. I don't know if I've ever told you about my
No,
nickname.
I didn't know the.
Yeah, it has a gaming origin.
The first part is easy enough to figure out.
Yes.
But the second one I didn't.
Yes, many people, and the funny thing is that nobody can pronounce it right the first time, which I love it, because
Cool.
it's really nice troubling people with how to call your name.
Easy enough to type, hard to pronounce.
Yes. Yeah, you can find me on Twitch. And I think we have a great Greek community that plays many games that you can follow and hear about the Greek language.
Yeah.
We are very loud. We are very, very open hearted people. When we play the games, we play them in a very aggressive way, I must say, because we must always win. And
You will get that Greek vibe.
and I mean, you can find many Greek people, which are my friends, playing the demo. I don't know if you want to talk about this.
Yeah, we'll have some people playing the game around the time where this where the demo
during
will
next
come as
festival.
well. So
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
We
so
are
if you
going.
search for the game on Twitch, you will find people playing it.
Yes, and
They-
you can just
They don't
follow.
speak English, so
Yes, but you can. They all speak English. You can ask them anything, and you can follow the Somber Echoes social media pages so that you can stay tuned about which streamers go live. I think we are going to post it there.
yeah, we can.
If you have any question about anything about the Greek mythology, I think you can always ask.
I will be lurking around those streams as well, because I know most of them, and it would be great to interact with some people watching, the streamers play.
Yes.
I cannot guarantee I will be there for all of them, of course, but you might bump into me here.
Maybe we can. Maybe we can launch a DLC for the game where I do
Wow.
the Greek, the Greek narration.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not gonna say
Man.
anything about that.
I'm just gonna put it out there.
Yeah.
I would love to get back to the studio and just speak my native language, because I mean, maybe people won't understand what I'm saying, but I feel like
Yeah,
the feeling that we can pass and the emotion we can pass through the native language is something else. It's something
it's
very.
definitely been discussed, but we're not
No, we're not
commit on
gonna.
anything right
No. I'm just putting it out there because I want someone to listen about this.
Yes, and also we have quite a few localizations, which I'm very worried about now because like syllables, Polish, and
Right.
I'm scared. But let's see how it goes. But
Yeah.
how about like localization of the voice acting? How does your Polish sound like?
Yes. I know exactly what you mean, and I have thought about this, but we will have to figure it out. Yeah.
Let's leave that as a like a
Let's worry
spoiler
about that when
cliffhanger.
we get to that point.
Thank you for your time. It was a really good having a chat with you, and we hope everybody loves it again here on during next fest and after the next fest. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.